Magandang umaga, Filipinas. Good morning. You're watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada. I'm Thomas I. Likeness, reporting from our Eagle News studio in the Western Canadian province of Alberta. My city is Edmonton, and we're here to bring you news and commentary from across the country. Well, Friday morning, we made it to the end of another work week, about 8 hours to go, and then you're off for the weekend. Let's take a peek out the window right now and have a look at the weather in Metro Manila. AccuWeather forecasting heavy clouds today with chances of an afternoon and evening thunderstorm. High today, about 33. It'll have a real feel of about 39. We've got about a 60% chance of precip and drip, and currently mostly cloudy and 26 degrees. Feels like 31. Take care if you're going outside today. The air quality only rated as fair. Well, there's fresh coffee on, so grab yourself a second cup, sit back, relax, and let me tell you what's happening in Canada. First of all, we'll have a look at the weather across the country here. Our street scene today coming from Calgary, and a big thank you going to Rosalind Gaviola for this shot. We'll start on the west coast. Victoria, mostly cloudy and 17. Vancouver reporting clouds and 19 degrees. We cross the Rocky Mountains to Alberta, where Edmonton, well, I just heard the thunder boomers outside there. A heavy rain coming down right now. We managed to get up to 20 degrees today, though. A little more severe in Calgary, where they have a thunderstorm warning, and people are being warned about the possibility of ping pong ball-sized hail, heavy winds, and so on. And of course, the accompanying thunder showers. It's raining down there, Calgary at 21 degrees. In Saskatchewan, Regina, partly cloudy and 24. A real scorcher in Saskatoon. They got up to 28. A few clouds there. Winnipeg, light rain and 20. Toronto, partly cloudy and 26. Ottawa, partly cloudy and 24. Montreal, mostly cloudy, also 24. The Atlantic provinces, well, they've cooled down substantially from the last couple of days. Fredericton, cloudy and 23. Light rain in Halifax, 20 degrees. St. John's, Newfoundland, partly cloudy and 24 degrees. Here are some of the stories we're following today. How are Canadians coping financially with the pandemic? A court says Canada's refugee agreement with the United States violates constitutional rights. Alberta is struggling to control an increasing number of coronavirus cases, and the first numbers are out on an immunity study for COVID-19. Well, the pandemic, as you know, has had a big financial impact on all of us. Here in Canada, there have been billions of dollars of government help to help people get through this difficult time, but many are still struggling, trying to balance their checkbook and at the same time put food on the table. TransUnion, it's one of two companies that compiles credit ratings in Canada. TransUnion surveyed 1,100 people earlier this month. The findings, somewhat troubling. Nearly two-thirds of those surveyed remain concerned about their ability to pay bills and repay loans. That's a bit of an improvement from March, where 70% said they were in that situation. Credit card bills remain the most frequently identified as the one people will skip. 46% say, well, not this month. Visa, MasterCard, you're going to have to wait. That's followed by cell phone bills, utilities, mortgage payments. Requests for mortgage relief, where you could partially pay or completely defer the payment. That was the most common deferral request to lenders. So how are people getting through these tough times? Because some of these deferrals, they got to start paying now. Time's up. You still owe the money. Well, consumers are withdrawing money from their savings, their investments, cashing in some of the retirement plan, or borrowing money to increase cash flow. More than a third of those affected say they're using money from their tax-free savings accounts, their registered retirement accounts, and that's an increase of 3% from the previous month. This is also worrisome because more people are opening new credit card accounts or using existing cards, and you know what they're doing there? They're just swapping balances. They're swapping balances, so the debt is still there. The interest just keeps accumulating. About 42% of impacted consumers have asked lenders to discuss payment options. Many consumers not making full payments during the crisis. 43% indicate they're only making partial payments on their mortgage. Nearly half, 44%, say they're not paying their car loans. 88% say they're only making partial or minimum payments on their credit cards. You know those plastic things with the 23% interest rate. You know, the problem with the deferrals and reduced payments is you still owe the money. Eventually, you're going to have to pay it back. And for many people, it's going to mean changing their lifestyle to one that includes only the necessities of life, not the luxuries. But the problem for some, they have a pretty loose definition of what is a necessity. Canada's refugee deal with the United States has been struck down by a federal judge under the agreement, and that went into effect way back, 16 years ago, 2004. Under that deal, Canada and the U.S. recognize each other as safe places to seek protection. That means Canada can turn back potential refugees who arrive at land ports of entry along the Canada-U.S. border. The idea is that these people must pursue their claims in the United States because that's the country they first arrived in. But a Canadian federal judge accepted the argument of refugee advocates. They claim the U.S. is not always a safe place for people fleeing persecution. The judge ruled the law violates constitutional guarantees of life, liberty, and security. The government has 6 months to respond to that decision, so that means the present law remains in effect for that time. Police have arrested a 33-year-old man from New York State. He didn't stop at the Canada-U.S. border crossing in Niagara Falls. Police say U.S. authorities tried to stop an SUV with Florida plates that was being driven erratically. The driver managed to elude them, blew past the border crossing. Following a short chase by Canadian authorities, the vehicle collided with a police car. Police used a stun gun to subdue the suspect. The man's been charged with impaired driving and drug possession. In Alberta, a second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic on the horizon. You know, for the last few months, my province was a poster child for how to manage the pandemic effectively. But federal statistics from the last 2 weeks show the province is now reporting the most cases per capita in the country. We have more than 120 new cases a day. And what's worse, the hospitalization rate is also increasing, number of people being hospitalized. And we're now, per capita, second only to Quebec. The primary demographic in the new outbreaks is young people, people under the age of 40. Seems after months of lockdown, these folks just want to get out and socialize, resume the old way of life. And, you know, in their mind, it feels like the pandemic is over. Things have loosened up. Reopening of bars and restaurants has led to further outbreaks. How are governments responding? Well, we told you yesterday the city of Calgary just passed a mandatory face mask bylaw. You have to wear them indoors. Edmonton City Council today debating a similar bylaw, the provincial government reluctant to make it a province-wide ordinance. The province also wants to avoid another lockdown, but, you know, unless things change, lawmakers may have no other choice but to bring back in the tough restrictions. Well, how immune are Canadians to coronavirus? Scientists have been testing donated blood, and from 10,000 samples that were taken earlier this spring, they found that less than 1% of people have COVID-19 antibodies. Canadian Blood Services and Canada's COVID-19 Immunity Task Force say that's worrisome, that less than 1% of the 10,000 samples came up positive. They say it should serve as a warning for most Canadians as the country reopens. The spokesperson, Dr. Catherine Haskins, says that means most of us are vulnerable to the infection. She says the government has to ramp up testing and tracing capacity across the country. It's the only way, she says, to interrupt any chains of transmission and quickly prevent unchecked spread of the virus. Have you heard about do-it-yourself testing at home? Eagle News correspondent Andre Lajoie tells us it's buyer beware. What's the Latin phrase for that? Caveat emptor. Buyer beware, because Andre tells us there's a whole lot of fake tests on the market.
17,000 fake test kits for coronavirus have been seized in large-scale international anti-fraud involving trafficking of drinks, food, and medical products potentially dangerous, announced on Wednesday at the Interpol. The operation, coordinated by the Interpol and Europol between December 2019 and June 2020 in 77 countries, has in total led to the seizure over 12 tons of goods with a value of $40 million. 19 criminal organizations have been dismantled and 407 people arrested, indicated the Agency of International Police Cooperation based in Lyon, France. In addition to fake tests for the COVID-19, contaminated dairy products made from animals illegally slaughtered, counterfeit medical products are among the captured. In Bulgaria, the operation, for example, has led to the discovery in a warehouse underground of cheese containing the bacterial E. coli, and during the operation in Jordan, 6,500 liters of energy drinks and sodas out of date and more than 7 tons of milk and cheese spoiled have also been seized. In South Africa, with a cargo from Asia supposed to contain material and medical coverage, consolidated in the reality of fruits of the sea, details of the Interpol. At the time when everywhere in the world there is an effort to contain the COVID-19, the fact that the criminals networks distributing those potentially dangerous products demonstrate their determination to make a profit, says the Interpol Secretary General Jürgen Stark. This operation called OPSEN and reproduced each year for the last 9 years. In Ottawa, Canada, André Lajoie, we live in an interesting time.
And if you're just joining us, it's 12 minutes past 7 o'clock in Manila. You're watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada.
Mula sa libu-libong auditionees, umabot na tayo sa ating top 5.
Angel Nicole Francisco, Cosmic Angels, Power Duo, Jonah Chris Bandilio, Adrian Oclarino.
At ngayong Lunes, sila ay maghaharap-harap para sa inaasam na 2 million pesos at tanghaling ultimate grand winner. This is it. This is the Judgment Day, with special production number from our TNG hosts, John Lucas and Ruru Madrid, with special performances of our TNG Horados and our very special guest, Marcelito Pomoy. Ito na ang pinaka-aabangang Grand Showdown. This is Tagisan ng Galing, the Grand Finale, July 27, 7:30 p.m. Dito lang sa Net 25. Tagisan ng Galing is presented by SMC Infrastructure, building a better world. Sanmig sugar-free white coffee, puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na Sanmig sugar-free white coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. Vet-approved Nutrichoice, the only premium dog food with active boost for optimum energy and prebiotics that help strengthen immunity. Just like Catherine Bernardo, gawing listo, ganado ang fur babies niyo. Listo ganado sa Nutrichoice. Magnolia Chicken Templados, delicious, ready to cook and freshly marinated daily. Pure Foods Luncheon Meat, pure sarap for every family. Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef, ang cheesy ng corned beef mo. Walang duda, kids can tell na #1 ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy. Ang tender, ang juicy, ang sarap. Co-presented by Cooper, expert in air conditioning and electromechanical. Also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Cooper, your ultimate MEPS and air conditioning solutions. Unlad Incorporated International, fight against global poverty. New San Jose Builders Incorporated. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee, masarap, mabango, at healthy pa. Puerto Rico Resort and Convention Center, Cabiao, Nueva Ecija. I love Puerto Rico. In participation with Philippine National Bank, masasandalan ng pamilyang Pilipino saan man sa mundo. PNB, you first. Department of Health.
Protektahan natin ang sarili at mga mahal sa buhay.
Pinasolusyon sa COVID-19. Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint. Matimco. R Square Variables Incorporated. Compizel Enterprises. Saisho International Trading Corporation. DN Steel. EMAC UPB Roof Corporation. East West Bank. Your dream, our focus.
Hey, Gretchen Ho here, and I'm a white coffee lover. Creamy kasi, and very yummy. Pero mas masarap kung hindi nakaka-guilty. Check my new discovery, Sandmix Sugar-Free White Coffee. Puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na! Sandmix Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free.
The Bulacan Bulk Water Project is a treatment facility that will provide bulk water to the 24 municipalities of Bulacan to meet the increasing water demand of its residents. Through concessionaire, SMC Infrastructure also initiated the significant improvements of the Manila North Harbor Port, the country's busiest port.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Ikaw lang ang star ng buhay ko. Para sa akin, perfect ka. Ibang klase ang sarap ng corned beef mo. Ang cheesy ng corned beef mo. Pag Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef, sarap ng corned beef, inangat pa ng real cheese cubes. Kaya perfect ang sarap. Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef.
Malaking parte ng pamumuhay namin ang agrikultura. Sa mother side ko, ang kanilang kalakal ay animal husbandry. Sila po ay nag-aalaga ng mga baka. Magmula po sa Pangasinan, napunta po ng Nueva Ecija. Ang father side ko naman po, mula po sa Spain, pagdating nila dito sa Pilipinas, sila po yung tinatawag na uring may lupa. Talagang nabuhay po kami, ibinuhay po sa amin ang agrikultura. Mga mahal kong kababayan, ito po si Robin Padilla. Inaanyayahan ko po kayong manood ng Unlad, Kaagapay sa Hanap Buhay. Dito po sa Net 25. May kaagapay sa hanap buhay.
This is Eagle News Mornings from Canada. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. It's 18 and a half past 7 o'clock. 27 degrees right now in Metro Manila. Well, in Ontario, the government has been busy passing laws to deal with the pandemic. With more on that, Eagle News correspondent April Masongsong.
Here in Ontario, 18 pieces of legislation that involve emergency measures to protect public health in the fight against COVID-19 were passed yesterday. Here is Premier Ford with his acknowledgement.
I want to take a moment and thank MPPs on all sides of the legislature, because during these critical times, people expected us to come together and get the job done. And that's exactly what we did. During this historic sitting of the legislature, we worked together to protect the public from COVID-19 and support Ontario families, businesses, and communities.
This move is considered historic as these 18 bills saw cross-partisan collaboration from members of the provincial parliament, regardless of their political affiliation. Take a look.
My friends, collaboration was more important than ever. So we rolled up our sleeves and got to work. In fact, working with the opposition parties, we were able to pass 6 bills in this session with full support from every political party. In total, our government passed a historic 18 pieces of legislation during this critical time.
Some of these legislations will allow economic support for students and the repayment of student loans, protecting small businesses from being evicted, additional support for families and seniors, and modernizing government workflow, amongst others. However, there was an issue with Bill 195 that was passed by the Progressive Conservative Party. If the COVID-19 crisis in Ontario worsens, Bill 195 gives the government the power to extend emergency orders without legislative debate or approval. Cambridge MPP Belinda Carajalios voted against this legislation because she claims that the bill silences every Ontario MPP from giving an input and making decisions. Because of this, Premier Ford removed her from the Progressive Conservative Caucus, a move which caused some public scrutiny. When asked for a comment about Carajalios' removal from the caucus and the kind of message it sends, that if one disagrees with the Premier, they will have no place in the Progressive Conservative Party, this is what Premier Ford had to say.
Listen, you know, we have caucus members. We all disagree, and to be very frank, I disagree with the caucus. Sometimes I disagree with the cabinet, but at the end of the day, when the cabinet and caucus make a decision, I go with it. You know, because we're all part of a team, and ironically, I was with Belinda, not a word, and I like Belinda, and I'm sure you ask her, we've never had bad words. We get along. I was with her for 2 days, going to her customers, and yes, I believe all my MPPs are all stars. I truly believe that. But again, this is about the legislation protecting the people of this province. It is absolutely critical. It was transparent. We're here every day, and I'm not going to waver when it comes to protecting the health and the safety of the people of Ontario.
In these times of uncertainty, disagreements and contrasting opinions on how best to carry out the next steps in handling the COVID-19 crisis are expected. Leadership during a pandemic is challenging and crucial, as each decision will inevitably affect people's lives. In Toronto, April Masangsong, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
And joining us this morning, our backup anchor, Marco Zaruda. He's got some thoughts at random on a couple of topics. Let's start with Major League Baseball. I call them the Toronto hobos these days. Are they still homeless?
Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Manila. Yeah, that's right. The Toronto Blue Jays are still looking for a home, even as today is the first day of the 2020 baseball season. They were looking at Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh government saw the same thing that the federal government in Canada saw when it came to the risk factor of players coming into their region. So they said no, and now they're talking to the folks in Baltimore, Maryland, and right now it's a wait-and-see approach of whether they're going to get the okay there. Their first game will be tomorrow in Florida, a hot spot for the pandemic right now. So wait-and-see approach when it comes to where they're going to play, when they're going to play, and how it's all going to unfold.
It seems like nobody wants them. They're going to end up on a playground somewhere. Pitching the baseball.
Well, I mean, like our sportscaster Zarita mentioned before, you know, Buffalo was always the logical option, it seemed, but just looking at the potential venue there and the facilities that they might need, the different things that they might need, it's a backup, it's a fallback, but their hope is a major league stadium, and that time's running out.
Yeah, and they need the infrastructure, and Buffalo just didn't have it. Another thing that's generated a lot of controversy, both here and in the United States, team names. In my city, of course, the Edmonton Eskimos are no longer. We're now known as the football club formerly known as the Eskimos.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the last couple of days, sports team names have been a really hot topic. Like you said, Edmonton is now the Edmonton football team for the CFL. In the NFL, the Washington team will now be called the Washington football team. The Cleveland Indians in baseball are thinking of changing their names. And then in hockey, the 32nd NHL team, a brand new one, they're called the Seattle Kraken. So a lot of team name, a lot of excitement going around with that. But yeah, team names the last couple of days, hot topic.
Do you know what a Kraken is?
Watching from movies, it's a giant squid. I don't know exactly how that's going to work out. Yeah,
some kind of a creature from the ocean.
Yeah,
thanks for joining us this morning, Marco, and
take care, Tom.
See you again. Well, it's time now for basketball. Denver Nuggets coach Mike Malone incorporated a mile-high lineup that had all-star center Nikola Jokic playing point guard, rookie Bol in the starting lineup against the Washington Wizards, Tenny Samagi with more on Denver's win, and a random testing after the game. Tenny, tell us more about Bol's rookie debut.
Yes, Tom. Bol makes his anticipated start and debut in yesterday's game against the Washington Wizards. Now, Bol is the son of the late Manute Bol, one of the tallest NBA players to ever play the game. The 7'2" center started in a mile-high lineup where he finished with 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 blocks in Denver's victory over the Wizards.
Bol was the talk of the town on Wednesday. What are your thoughts on him? Does he have what kind of a future do you see him having in the NBA?
Well, let's take a look at what he said on after the game. Let's play that soundbite.
I've been waiting like a long time, just working hard and waiting for this moment. Not really, because I've been working really hard, especially since I got here in the bubble. So I was just trying not to be nervous, and then everything would just come to me.
So after the game, he was randomly tested for a drug test, which was his reward for a great game. For more on Denver Nuggets and other NBA teams, tune to Eagle News for your daily dose of highlights. Penny Sumagi, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
You know, the Nuggets are one of the top defensive teams in the NBA. Is there, you know, we've been through this before, the Lakers, the Clippers. Is there a chance for them to be a spoiler and dethrone one of the two there?
I love the Denver Nuggets. They are one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. So, yes, they are my favorite team out in the West that's not from Los Angeles, Tom. And this is a young team. Jokic is only 25, and he's emerged to be one of the most versatile NBA players in the game today. I mean, he's a center. He stands 7 feet tall with an amazing game. This guy could pull out triple doubles when he has a good game. So he's a dangerous player, and he has a great supporting cast in Jamal Murray, who is Canadian, by the way. And you have Paul Millsap, Mason Plumlee, and then you have the rookie Bol, and then Michael Porter Jr., who are great young talent. Michael Porter Jr. was actually one of the, if not the best U.S. high school athletes before he entered college and entered the NBA. So his development is phenomenal. Mike Malone has just done an amazing job with this team. So I do like their chances. It's pressure for Nikola Jokic, actually. If he comes out with a big game, you know, they're a very difficult team to beat out west.
Sounds like they got a lot of up-and-comers there. If not this year, in the next couple of years, I think we're going to see a lot more of them when we get to postseason play. Yeah. Thanks for joining us this morning, Tenny. Tony? Is it Tony or Tenny?
I like you know, Tony. Tony.
Antonia. Okay, that's our program for today. On behalf of the Canadian News team, I wish you all good health. Take care of others, take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic and other current affairs. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Stay tuned for Be Brighter.